This is important to us because we took so many pictures and videos together that are documenting the last week. The last week together. It was a wonderful time. We only care about getting these things back. Please, if you have found this, just contact us. If you have a feeling that it wasn't absolutely legal, we don't mind about that at all. We won't announce you to the police. We simply would be very thankful. Please, help us keep our memories. It would mean the world to us. Welcome to Extraordinary Stories Podcast. Hey, how are you? Are you well? Are you good? I am. Alright, are you ready for bizarreness? For some bazarness? Get it? Bazarness. Does it work? Not really, does it? I mean, I kind of made myself laugh a tiny little bit. I usually make myself laugh a lot. I'm usually cracking up at my own things, but I don't think that works. Bizarreness? Nah. Okay. Yeah, this story is weird. It's just odd. It's perplexing. It's truly an extraordinary story. So firstly, let me do just a couple of shout outs. Quickly, a special hello, and then we'll get on to the story. Alright, hello to Alice Tracy. Hello, Alice. Thank you for your lovely message after the last episode about jumpers. Jessica Coyle McCulloch. Hello, Jess. All the new Facebook group members, welcome along. Hello. Thank you for joining. Okay, now for this one, I'll turn the bouncy music off. A dedicated listener to this podcast, whose name you will have heard me say before, Darren Bettencourt. Well, he reached out on the Facebook group with some sad news, and the community responded with so much love. Darren's dog, a boxer called Roxy, who is 11 years old, has sadly to be put down. Darren says she is the best dog and she will be missed. So, thinking of you, Darren, and your family, and Roxy. And thanks to everyone in the group who showed real love and real support. And that's what's fucking brilliant about the Facebook group, is that someone can put up a real emotion that they're feeling at that moment and can be guaranteed that the support they will get is incredible. So, Darren, I hope you're okay. Alright, are you ready to take a trip to the strange, the dangerous, and the frankly peculiar? Okay, let's go. Right, so we start with a 17-year-old boy called Michael Mansholt, or Mike, as his friends and family know him. Mike is from Oldenburg in Germany, and he lives with his mum Suzanne and his brother. Now his parents are separated, and his dad Bernd, and I had to actually go on one of those like Google things and be like, how do you say this name? It's Bernd. They are separated, and Bernd, his dad, lives with his new wife elsewhere and two other children. So, Mike is 17 and he has a girlfriend called Antonia. So to give you an image of what he kind of looks like, he's about 5'5", with a muscular build, and he's got red hair. Alright, so what's Mike all about? What's his game? What's his story? Well, he loves the outdoors. He loves physical outdoor activity. The images that you'll see of him most often are him like in a canoe, or often on a bike, or in water. He's got loads of like selfies of himself on nature walks and in areas where he can ride his bike and do all those things. He went running quite a lot. Just one of those really outdoorsy people. So Mike is planning a holiday with his girlfriend Antonia. A holiday, just the two of them. It's the first time that he's ever been away on holiday without his parents. Great. Do you remember those times? Remember the very first time you went on holiday without your parents? Amazing. I went to Ibiza. Whoop whoop. Party times. Yeah, it was amazing. Yeah. I went to Ibiza. Oh my god. So long ago. It was the time when, I don't think they do them anymore, but, well, maybe they do it. Foam parties were all the rage. Have you ever been to a foam party? It's the weirdest fucking experience ever. So you're basically there in a club, in like your best get up. You're like, ooh, I'm in my clubbing gear. And then all of a sudden, from the ceiling, this foam appears. I mean, you're basically standing like you're in a bloody washing machine. It's so weird. And then you're completely soaked head to toe. But you're like, you're drunk and you're like clubbing life, and there's like lights and music, so you're like, I don't care that I'm like soaked head to toe and it's going to take me 3 hours to dry off. And yeah, weird. I went to this one club in Ibiza where they were very famous for having foam parties, and I'm not kidding you, literally as I'm standing there on the dance floor, I'm like, the foam, having a great time. The foam vanishes very quickly, disperses very fast. Literally about 2 meters away from me, a couple just having sex in the foam, because they thought, oh, well, we're in the foam, no one can see us, right? The foam disappears not. They continue having sex. Did the fact that the foam had gone stop them? Nah, they just carried on. they just went for it. Anyway, that's not the kind of holiday that Mike and Antonia were going for. They were going to the island of Malta. Beautiful, beautiful island of Malta. So they get their stuff ready for the trip. They pack everything up, they say goodbye to their family, and off they go. So when they get there, they let their family know that they have arrived safely, and they let their holiday begin. So they're going to the beach. They're going out for meals, for drinks, and they're exploring the island. So Malta has lots and lots of cliffs and really hilly areas. And as I said, Mike loves the outdoors, and so they go out exploring. And of course, I mean, you can just picture it. The sun is shining, so the views are incredible. And they start taking these brilliant photographs and they're sharing them on Facebook. They're just showing the world what a great time they're having on holiday. Mike and Antonia are staying in the Hotel Selema. And on the 18th of July, 2016, this is 7 days into their holiday, Mike gets up in the morning and he decides he's going to go for a cycle in those cliffs that I was talking about earlier on. He wants to kind of get up to the top of the island, because you can sort of find your way up to the highest point in the island through all these various different tracks, and he wants to do that. So, he grabs his trainers, he gets his backpack, his camera, and off he goes. It's like 9 a.m. in the morning. CCTV footage shows Mike leaving the hotel, and 10 minutes later it captures him returning to his room to collect something that he had forgotten. What that was, no one knows. It was something he just didn't take with him the first time around. So off he goes. Now the next thing he does is he goes to the harbour and he hires a bike for the day, a mountain bike. And he tells the guy who he's hiring the bike from that he's going to visit the catacombs, the ancient tombs on the island. He really wants to see these. So he gets on his bike and off he goes. Antonia is waiting at the hotel for Mike to come back, and she's expecting him around midday. But at midday he hasn't returned. Odd that he's not back, because they'd made plans for the rest of the day to do things together. So she gives him a call. She phones his phone, and it goes straight to voicemail. Okay, so she tries again, and again it just goes straight to voicemail. So it's a bit strange, and she's starting to get that slightly kind of rising panic. Where is he? Why is he not answering his phone? What's happening here? Now the day continues and Antonia can't reach him. And he hasn't come back to the hotel. And so she's in a bit of a proper panic now, as you would be, as you really bloody would be. And she calls Maltese police because she is worried, and she informs them that her boyfriend went out earlier for a bike ride, early morning, and he's just never come back. So police say, okay, well, come to the station, talk us through it. So she does. She goes to the station, she tells them what she told them on the phone, which is, he went out, got a bike, and he's not come back. And I can't, every time I phone him, it just goes straight to voicemail. Police say, okay, we're going to start an investigation immediately. Normally with these things, it's like, well, you have to wait 24 hours, let's delay it, see if he comes home by the evening, etc. They don't in this case. They go, let's actually start looking straight away. Remembering, Mike is only 17. So, they're going, okay, well, let's look at it. Pinpointing the areas that he cycled in is difficult straight away. I mean, Malta is a big island, and who knows which bits of it he might have travelled to. I know he said he was going towards the catacombs, but there's no guarantee that's the route he took. He might have seen another direction that took his fancy. I think what's happening here is, I think police are working under the assumption, this is just what I'm getting from reading the story, I think police are working under the assumption that he's gone for a bike ride in a sort of hilly, cliffy, I don't think cliff is a word, but I'm going to use it anyway. I think they're thinking he's gone out into this area and he's maybe just got a bit lost. Basically, I think it comes down to them going, he's just a tourist in an area he doesn't really know, and he may have fallen off his bike. He might have just, broken his leg, broken his ankle, or he's just got incredibly lost and he's discovered that his phone's not charged. In many, many ways, that would be great if that's what it was, but it's not. Antonia has to make the worst phone call by the time the evening has arrived. She has to make a call to Mike's dad, to let him know what's happening. My God, how do you make that phone call? Your son went out at 9 o'clock this morning and he's never returned. But as hideous as it is, she does it. So she informs him what's happened, and together they try not to panic. They go through all of the things that the police are saying. He's maybe got a bit lost. He's maybe just not charged his phone. His dad's almost playing here on the phone. He's almost playing the card of, oh look, he's 17, it's a bit silly. He's, I'm not going to freak out about this right now. So when their phone call's finished, Bernd immediately starts trying his son's phone, and again it's just voicemail every time. I mean, secretly his dad is freaking out. He's actually freaking out, but he doesn't really want to let on that he's freaking out at this moment. So the next day arrives. A full 24 hours has passed. Mike hasn't shown up, and he hasn't made any contact at all. And police, who've been looking for a few hours now, they're not able to turn up anything. So now's when the real, proper panic sets in. Day 2 passes and we get to day 3 into Mike being missing. And police have zero to go on here. All that they know is that the bike that he rented was never returned. Mike's father is now convinced something bad has happened. Something bad has occurred here. So right, okay. As we go on in this story, there are going to be odd things in this story. I mean, there are some of the most baffling elements I've ever heard. 4 days into the disappearance in Malta. Back in Germany, Mike's mother is waiting at the airport for her son and his girlfriend to arrive back from their holiday. So the flight that she knows he was booked on to return from Malta to Germany, it's due to land, and she's waiting at the airport. She's thinking by this point, well, surely he's shown up in Malta. It's all been a bit of a misunderstanding and whatever, and he'll be on that flight, he'll come back, right, drama over. Now it becomes confusing, and depending on what version of the story you read, what's really confusing is how much his mum had actually ever been told about her son's disappearance, or when she was told. I get the sense from what I was reading that she didn't quite get the information at the same time that Mike's dad, Bernd, did. I get the feeling that she might have got it slightly later than he did, because otherwise, why would she go to the airport and expect him to arrive off of a plane? You know, the only thing, unless she was hoping that the whole entire thing was a mistake or a mix-up, and that he was just going to make his flight home, but I don't really think that makes any sense. I don't know. It's very confusing. So she's in the airport, and the flight flashes up on the board as delayed. It says it's delayed leaving Malta. So she's like, right, okay, well, I'll wait a bit longer. I'll just wait a bit longer. But the delay just gets longer and longer. And eventually the flight gets cancelled. So the plane that our son should have come home on never actually ever leaves Malta. So she goes straight from the airport to a German police office, and she says, look, I need to report my son missing. These are her words. She says, he has simply vanished. So police take all of the details down. They start to type it all into the system when it flashes up in their system that for the past 4 days, a search has been happening by Maltese police. The name, Mike Mansholt, it's already in the system. But wait there, we knew that, didn't we? I just told you that a minute ago. That we knew police were looking for him. But his mum didn't. And his dad didn't. No one had informed them that there was what's being described as a manhunt happening for their son. Just actually imagine that. Imagine that there was a 4-day search, a fucking manhunt was happening for your son, and no one told you. No one told you that this was happening. Fuck me, that is outrageous. It's weird. It's just so strange, and this is only the start of the strangeness. I just think them not knowing that a manhunt was happening for their son on the island of Malta is just, here I go again, Bazaro. No, I'm going to give this up because it's not working, is it? It's just not working. So his mum, she stays in Germany, and she just keeps trying to get through to Mike's phone, and all she's ever getting is voicemails. And she talks to her ex-husband on the phone, and Bern says, look, I'm going to fly to Malta and I'm going to join the search for him, because I can't just sit at home. I can't do it. I can't sit here and wait for someone to call me. I need to go to Malta and see what I can do. So the next people to get involved in the story are the, wait for it, the Bunderkrimiналalt. That's great. Basically the BKA, as we're going to call them, because I'm not going through the trauma of trying to say that word again. The BKA they're like an umbrella criminal organisation, and what they do is they work together to bring police from different countries together. So you've got German police looking at this, you've got Maltese police looking at it. So the BKA are the kind of organisation above that goes, right, okay, how can we facilitate these two police departments working together? I mean, if we've learned anything at all from the Madeleine McCann case, or there'll be similar examples, police forces in two different countries trying to work something out together usually just spells confusion and a bit of messiness. But that's what the BKA are supposed to be there to do. They're supposed to be there to go, right, Maltese police, what are you doing? German police, what are you doing? So by now, it really is a full-blown manhunt. Thousands of people are out on foot searching Malta for Mike, trying to work out, had anyone seen him on that day? No one had. It just keeps coming back to the guy who he rented the bike from down at the harbour, he being the last person to interact with him. He says, no, he took that bike and off he went. He went through the town. But you're not telling me no one saw him. You're not saying nobody saw this guy, this 17-year-old boy riding through the town that day. You know, I think it's weird. But it's going to get even bloody weirder. Alright, in Germany, there is a lot of media attention on the story. By now, there's news, there's stories in the paper, they're all reporting it. And Mike's brother suggests possibly doing a TV appeal. That might really help. That might really aid the search for him. Because he's thinking, well, if I can do a TV appeal and it gets played on Maltese TV, we might be able to find him. So it's now 8 days since his vanishing. And he goes on the TV to appeal for his brother. They show the most recent pictures of Mike. They actually take the ones from his Facebook and they use those as, this is who you're looking for. This is what he looks like right now. And he went out on a bike ride and we don't know where he's gone. So now, once he's done and filmed the TV appeal, Mike's brother, Brian, he decides he's going to fly out to Malta and he's going to join his dad in the search for his brother. Mike's mum, she stays in Germany and she's reported to be too emotional to talk to anyone. So father and son join the search and they try to speak to as many people as they can about seeing Mike. And the TV appeal is now ready to go out on the news. And it does. And minutes after the appeal, and I mean minutes after the appeal, the family receive a call to say that a body has been found and it might be Mike. Police have received reports that there has been a body discovered in what's called the Dingley Cliffs, Malta's highest point in the island, 250 metres up. It's a really remote part of the island where there's orange trees and one chapel. It's a part of the island where tourists, they do visit because you get breathtaking views out to sea and out to other islands, but it is a real hike to get there. So police cars and an ambulance, they arrive at the cliffs and the search begins. It's interesting that the TV appeal went out at 9 a.m. and by 9:15 police were making their way to these cliffs. So Mike's dad, Bernd, and his brother, they travel up quickly to the site of where the search is happening. Word spreads, it travels really fast, and a crowd of people make their way up to the cliffs. Police have to put up that sort of do not cross tape because there's so many people now arriving. So Bernd is waiting there and he's in the baking sunshine and he asks, can I go and look where the police are searching? And he's told no, you have to wait and stay where you are. And he's pleading, he's saying, look, can you just let me go and check if that's my son? The waiting for me is unbearable. And police say no. Let the police dogs, the forensics team, the paramedics, let them do their job. This won't be the first time in this story that Bernd feels like an inconvenience to the police. He's desperately hoping they can just hurry up. But Bernd and Mike's brother, all they can do is wait. Time passes and they see what I can only imagine must be so brutal to see. Coming around the cliff, there's a team of officers and forensics, and they're carrying a stretcher on which lies a body in a bag. Bernd says at this moment he just felt like collapsing. He says he thought his knees were just going to give out underneath him. So they put the body in the back of an ambulance and they ask Bernd, can he identify if this is his son Mike or not? Police are pretty sure that it is, but they need an identification. So grim. He unzips the bag and he looks down and he sees his son's face. And it's been really badly damaged by the sun. So Bernd is really upset. He can't speak, and so Mike's brother actually has to get involved, and he looks and he confirms, yes, that is indeed Mike's body. Ugh. 17 years old. Fuck's sake. So, this place that they had found it, where was it? Well, the body was lying at the bottom of a cliff. And it looks as though Mike had been possibly at the highest point, and then he'd slipped and fallen to his death. So the assumption is that his body had lay there in the heat, in the sunshine, because there was no shade, there was nothing, to protect him from the elements. So his body has basically lay there for 8 days. So Bernd he's looking for answers. He needs to know what's happened to his son. And one of the doctors at the scene will say to Bernd here, "The dead man's back is broken twice." So what he means by that is that what has killed Mike is that he's broken his back when he's fallen. And when he says twice, what he means is that there was an initial break of Mike's spine, and then there was a second one happened throughout the fall. And that Mike's body had basically been lying here, decomposing out on those cliffs. So, Bernd goes through here what I can only imagine are the normal, very normal, and beginning stages of grief. He starts to question, was that his son? He starts thinking, what if I was wrong? He's like, I only saw his face in the body bag. The face was really damaged from the sun, so I could have made a mistake. But remember, his brother also saw the body, and whilst nobody wants to be this voice, his brother does say, look, that was Mike. Dad, I know that it's really hard to take that, but that's who that was. So for the next 3 days, it's just police reports, DNA tests, the courts being involved, the morgue, all that horrendous, hideous stuff that surrounds a death that has to go through a process like that. So Bernd's waiting and waiting for these DNA test results. He's still holding on to the idea, this wasn't my son, this wasn't Mike. And then he gets the DNA results back, and it's 100% that's whose body they found. So Bernd is given a copy of the official papers written by police and the doctors, and he notices something really odd. Really, really odd. It says next to the cause of death, unascertained. And he thinks, why have they written unascertained? They told me it was from his back being broken. That was the cause. The cause of his death was the damage to his body when he fell. Okay, right. Well, I hope you're ready for the next weird event. Mike visits the morgue on the 5th day after they discovered the body. And when he gets to the morgue, a female mortician takes him aside. She takes him into a private room. She lowers her voice and she says, I have something to tell you. But this is off the record. Don't involve my name or who I am. And Bernd's like, okay, what's she got to say? And it's this. She says, there are no fractures. Bernd doesn't understand. He's like, what are you talking about? She says again, whispering, "There are no broken bones in his body. Don't let them tell you that's what killed him. His body wasn't smashed in a fall." Okay. What now? What? What? Is this an error somewhere? Is this a mistake? Is something gone wrong in communicate? Is this some sort of language thing that's happened here? Or what, like, just what, basically? So Bernd does what any of us would do. He immediately calls the police officer in charge of the case, but he doesn't get any answers. When he's saying to her, "Look, this woman at the morgue has just told me that there are no broken bones," he describes her as being evasive on the phone. He's saying, "You told me one thing, the morgue's telling me something different." She doesn't really answer the questions. She just tries to always stick to the story. It was the fall that killed him. Right, let's look at this next. The belongings that were found next to Mike's body at the scene. Police recovered at the scene his shoes, they weren't on his feet, and his sunglasses. And that was it. That was all they found. Now you will remember when this tale began long ago, I told you he took his rucksack with him on that day. So inside that rucksack he had close to about €200. He had a straw hat and he had his beloved GoPro. Now, I'm a wee bit technologically challenged. So I had to Google what a GoPro was, because I was like, I don't know what a GoPro is. But then I saw it and I was like, oh, of course I fucking know what it is. What an idiot. If, like me, you're not very technological, then it's a tiny little camera, like a dinky little action camera. It's really cool. You'll know the kind of thing. Like, you can attach it to, say, like the handlebars of a bike, so that you get like a brilliant shot of you on your bike. Or if you were, I don't know, let me think, jumping out of a plane, you would maybe attach it to your chest, so you're getting like a brilliant aerial view of you falling. You know the kind of thing I mean? So it's built for like people who like to do outdoors things, who like to climb mountains and jump off cliffs and do all those things. It's designed for them to have so that they can always film their action. So Bernd says to police, "Okay, well, where are the rest of my son's belongings? He never goes anywhere without that GoPro camera." And police say, "Well, it wasn't there." Bernd says, "Okay, right. So where's his rucksack?" And they say, "Well, we didn't find a rucksack." But the thing is, we know he had a rucksack. We know this. So now Bernd's having to play a little bit of detective in the death of his son. He says, "Okay, look, is there a chance that this was a robbery and that's why these things are missing?" He's also thinking, if we can find that camera, we might get an answer about what happened on that day. We might find some footage of where he went, what he did, people he might have spoke to, etc. But the robbery theory does not sit well with Maltese police. They say, "We don't do that. The Maltese are not robbers." I'm sorry. I say to that, what a load of bollocks. You're telling me, you're actually trying to tell me that in an island, a whole island full of thousands of people, there's not one thief? Shut up. There's thieves everywhere. What makes bloody Malta so special? But they're like, no, the Maltese people were not thieves. It wasn't a robbery. That's not what's happened. But Bernd, well, he will not let this camera thing. By now he's really starting to feel this thing of, the police just want rid of me. I'm annoying them. Now, at this stage, I'm asking awkward, difficult questions, and they're starting to get really, like, can we get this guy to fuck? He is really bugging me. I always think that this it's quite interesting because police will often say actually having a family member involved closely when something has happened can either be the most amazing help or it can be the biggest hindrance in the world because they actually can just get in the way of the investigation. That's how Bernd is being made to feel, very much so. It, very much like you're just getting in the way. You're under our feet as we're trying to just get through this. But that doesn't bother him. He speaks to another officer who was involved and she gives a completely strange story about the belongings that were found. She says, oh no, the GoPro camera was there. It was attached to his belt when we found his body. Right, so wait a minute. That's a completely different story from what he's been told by another member of the police. So, he starts to get demanding and he starts saying, okay, give me the camera. I want to see this bloody GoPro. I want to, give me it. So he waits and he waits and he waits and there's lots of faffing about and no one's quite coming up with it. Oh, we don't know where it is and we don't know where it went and etc, etc. And he waits it out and he's just like, fucking just give me the camera. Do you know what police give him? Now, this is just ridiculous. There's not a lot of moments in this story that made me laugh, but I actually laughed when I saw the image of this. They give him an old, do you know the brand Canon? They give him an old Canon camera that looks like it's about 20 years old. The chip in it has been completely destroyed, so it doesn't even work. They give him it, and they're like, there you go. And Bernd goes, sorry, I don't know why you've given me this. This is not my son's camera. And police are like, yep, it is. That's what we found. No, it's not. Oh my God, it's a mess. It's just this investigation is a mess. Nobody in this story can appear to just stick to what they're saying. Within that police force, everybody is saying something totally different. So Mike's girlfriend, Antonia, she is back home in Germany now and she takes to Facebook regarding the missing rucksack. And she writes, this is important to us because Mike and I took many pictures and videos together that are documenting his last week and our last week together. It was a wonderful time. We, his family, we want to see a way to experience our last few days together. If only we could have those pictures and those videos. We only care about his mobile phone and his GoPro. Not even, she says, not even about the camera. It's just the memory card inside. She says, please, if you have found this haversack, as she calls it, just contact us. If you have the feeling that the manner or the style wasn't absolutely legal, we do not mind about that at all. We won't announce you to the police. We will not get you in trouble. We simply would be very, very thankful. Please, help us keep our memories. It would mean the world to us. No replies to the message. No luck. Nobody gets in touch about the rucksack. It's beginning to feel to Bernd and to the rest of the family that the case is winding down. Police are putting it to bed, essentially. They're saying, case closed, death by accidental falling, and that's it. So, Mike's dad and his brother, they return to Germany. Staying in Malta isn't going to achieve anything for them. So back in Germany, the family, they're trying to get on with their lives. They're devastated, obviously. Bernd, who's a goldsmith, he's just finding it really hard to concentrate at work. He just keeps repeating the words. Whenever he's asked about Mike's death, he just keeps repeating the words, something's not Right. Mike's mum, brother, girlfriend, well, they're all at varying stages of grief. Now comes the next part of the story, which could and should provide them some sort of closure. The funeral. Okay, what do you need for a funeral? Well, you need a body. And Mike's body arrives in Germany and it's taken straight to the funeral directors for preparation. Tragically, the timing of his body arriving coincides with what would have been his 18th birthday. Oof. So now the funeral director is going about the routine procedure of opening the zinc coffin and getting ready to get it ready because the family want an open casket. And when he opens it, he's alarmed instantly by something. Usually when you open a coffin, the only smell you should get really is embalming fluid. But in this case, all he can smell is a decomposing body. The body hasn't been embalmed and it's now rotting away. I assumed at this point, that the funeral director would call the Maltese side of things and say, like, what's going on here? What is this? But he doesn't. He calls the police straight away. He calls German police and he says, this is highly irregular that this body hasn't been embalmed, but I also need you to come and look because there's something else I think you need to see. When the police get to the funeral home, they see the remains of Mike's body and it's in a terrible state. In part because of not being embalmed, but largely because Mike is missing most of his vital organs. Get ready for this list. The body of 18-year-old Mike Mansholt was missing the following: his brain, his heart, his lungs, his liver, his pancreas, his right kidney, his bladder, his prostate, his stomach, and his small intestine. What? Just what now? Mike's family are informed, and you can imagine how shocked they are and how many questions they have. Like, number one, obviously, where are his bloody organs? Why is his brain missing? Where the hell is his heart? Where are all these things? So, of course, German police immediately call Maltese police and they're like, what the fuck is happening here? This is genuinely, and I'm not kidding, this is genuinely what Maltese police say when they're confronted. They say, oh, that's what the body was like when we found it on the cliff. We must have just forgotten to include that on the autopsy form. No, I'm not having it. I'm not accepting that. That's absolute bullshit. I'm not having it. But neither is Mike's family. Bernd is doing his dinger at this point. And I'm not surprised. I would be too. I'm sorry. Organs do not just go missing from a person's body and you go, oh sorry, it was like that when I got here. No, shut up. It's not right. It's not right. So Bernd, he gets the first flight to Malta and he starts asking questions. He goes straight to the police and he is not afraid to raise the alarm loudly. Now you may well have a slight familiarity with this story because you've seen the headlines about it, because I think this story was doing the rounds. In fact, how I found out about it was someone in the Facebook group posted this story and said, Baz, you might be really interested in this, and you weren't wrong. So, I mean, he's telling everyone loud and proud. He's like, I'm just going to tell you this. My son's body came back to Germany after being found in weird circumstances, and he's missing all of his fucking vital organs. Talk to me about it. Tell me what the hell's going on. So a second investigation gets set up by German police. German police now want answers. But this is what they keep getting told by the Maltese police. They say, rodents must have eaten Mike's organs as he lay there dead on the cliff for 8 days in the sun. So they're claiming rats have come along and have eaten his liver, his stomach, his brain. So, if that's the case, is the body covered then in rodent bites? No. A second autopsy will prove no, it's not covered in rodent bites. So then the story changes. Maltese police say, actually, what happened is, because his body lay in the baking sunshine, his organs evaporated, essentially. They just diminished through a process of dehydration and... What? What you're telling me? That his body lay there for 8 days in the sunshine and his heart, it just evaporated, did it? And his brain and his liver and his... They all just disappeared. I mean, who's coming up with these answers? A bloody 3-year-old? Give me a break. I tell you what, a fucking 3-year-old would make more sense of this than Maltese police can make of it. Oh! In the end, the second autopsy and the second investigation only offers up what we already know. He hasn't broken his back. He has no broken bones. And the organs are gone. And no one can give a straight answer as to why that has happened. Honestly. Sometimes the world's just like... you know that emoji of the guy who just does... like puts his hand across his face like the face plant. That's how I feel. I just feel like what is the world sometimes. Okay, so back to Bernd and Mike's mum Suzanne and his brother. They still need that closure. They still need to say goodbye to their son. Now, because when he was alive, Mike really enjoyed the sea, they decide that that's how they're going to bury him. So they hire a boat and they take his body out and they give him a burial in the ocean. Bernd, he continues to search for answers. What he does is he starts to target individual people who were involved in the case. So, like the Maltese doctor who did the first autopsy, some of the police who were involved. But the people involved in the case, all of a sudden, they become unavailable to talk. Or they suddenly fall ill just when Bernd is about to meet with them. A Maltese judge who could order, and should, but could order an investigation to open up the whole entire case, suddenly falls ill when Bernd asks for that to happen. But the family, they don't really give up. By now the Maltese government and the German government are involved. And all the questions that you're probably thinking, and all the questions that I'm thinking, they're thrown about by these two governments. Are any of them answered? No. Just like that first investigation did, it all just starts to go quiet. And the case just starts to fade away. Well, almost. Remember I mentioned the BKA, the Umbrella Police Organisation? Well, they're not quite done with the story. Quietly, in their offices, they are working away. They don't put it to bed. They go to the Maltese judge and they say, the judge who was too ill to be able to do anything before, they say, look, there have been huge failings in the investigation in this case. And she eventually says, okay, fine, I'll bring it to court. So, all of the people involved, they get called to court. The embalmers, the police, the paramedics, Bernd, they all come into court and tell their side of the story. And now it's like a light gets shone upon just how conflicting this story has been so far. The judge hears from everybody involved, and she concludes, this is just a tragic case of a young man falling on a cliff. Ugh. She says, end of. I won't talk about it anymore. That's it. We've given it a fair trial. We've investigated it the best we can. That's the end result. So for Mike's family, they've done all that they can. Bernd, he puts up a €10,000 reward for any information leading to the discovery of his son's organs. But nothing comes of that. His mum, she tries to carry on with life. And his brother and his girlfriend, they do too. Bernd says he can't stay in Germany. He's too haunted by it. So he buys a boat. He takes his wife and his 2 kids, and they go sailing for a year. Bernd says this, by sailing, I'm not running away from it. I'm getting closer to my son by spending every day in the water. The investigation into the death and the organ disappearance of Mike Mansholt is officially closed. And so ends the story. Okay, well, there you go. What a bizarre tale. What an absolute shocker. Now, type his name into Google and you'll find every conspiracy theory under the sun. Obviously, what has to be considered is organ harvesting. So, is it the case that the minute he arrived in Malta, he was targeted and people looked at him and thought, okay, we want those organs and we're going to wait for our opportunity? Is it possible someone was watching him that day as he came out of his hotel and hired a bike? Who knows? That's one theory. There's a lot of different theories in this case, and quite frankly, I don't know if any of them make any sense. I don't know. I'd love to hear what you think happened here. Somebody took those fucking organs. Somebody knows what happened. Was he taken? How was he killed is the question. If there's no obvious, he's been stabbed, he's been poisoned, he's been whatever, how was he killed before the organs were taken and then placed on that cliff? I don't know. It's a mess. It's an absolute mess. But what is, I think, the thing that really sticks with me is it's a mess that I'm not saying just someone knows about. I'm saying lots of people know what's happened here, and the cover-up job has been appalling because there's just been so many ridiculous stories. It's got remnants of so many of those crime cases that we all know so well, where it's like, oh, but this person said this side thing, and then that person said that, but the police said something different, and then the forensics person, they completely contradicted it. And it's in those cases, as we all know, as true crime podcast listeners, the minute you start to get really unclear bits of things and people start chipping in opinions and they all contradict each other, is the moment you go, something really dodgy has happened here. Something really bad, and there's a cover-up job, and the cover-up job is bad, and it's just making the whole thing look ridiculous. So yeah, get in touch. Let me know your thoughts. I'd like to hear from you. How can you do that? Well, you can join the Facebook group where there will be conversation about this. You can follow me on Twitter, on Instagram. You can email me extraordinarystoriespodcast@gmail.com. Yeah, I think that's about it, really. So I'm going to wrap this up and say cheerio. No, I hate the word cheerio. I don't know why I said that. I'm just going to say what I always say. Okay, goodbye.
It didn't affect me really one way or the other. I would imagine from the look on his face, let's get it on, let's do it, let's get it over. Let's get it on, let's do it, let's get it over.